Hi, welcome back to Art and Soul. My name is Mike Severin. So glad you could join me again today for another episode. I started painting on here a couple of weeks ago, and we ended up with a lost episode. So I decided, because I had started the first episode with it, even though the second one didn't, for whatever reason, we didn't get that taken care of. I started, left this where it is today so we can start in on the final episode of it. Let me kind of show you what we've got here for those of you that maybe didn't see that episode. Got a nice little scene here, just a 16 by 20 canvas. Put in this little background here with this mailbox here in the foreground. And what we're going to do today is do a little bit more in the sky, figure some more out with the limbs that are coming down here with some leaves on them. Man, if we have some time, maybe we'll put a little bird or something there on the top of it and finish up our foreground. So without further ado, we'll get started on that. So for those of you that don't know, I work with oil paints, but this can be done with acrylic just as easily. And what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing just some straight titanium white, and if you will, as we're going through, I'll kind of show you my palette a little more here. And because of the residue that I had on the brush, because I didn't have it completely cleaned out, there was a little bit of kind of maybe even looks like maybe some burnt sienna that must have been in there, which is fine. I often, if you've watched the show, work with a dirty palette and very rarely clean my brushes out, and because what it does is it gives a continuity throughout the painting by using different, if you've got the different colors that resonate throughout the painting. So I'm just kind of maybe highlighting up a little bit more of those distant clouds that are there in the background. And if you can see, I'm just kind of doing these swirling motions with the brush. Nothing real fancy, but it's just enough to give a nice highlight on those clouds there. We're going to go now. I want to hit a layer here on our little mailbox, and the paint, because it is oil paints and it is still a little bit damp from painting before, it's going to pick up just like with the clouds here. What's in the brush here is going to come out onto our and blend with what we've got already on the canvas. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit across here, maybe just a little indication of, because where our light source is coming in from our right up above, and I'm going to grab just a little bit of the titanium white now with just a hint of the cad yellow light. I want this a little on the pale yellow side, and right across here I want to take and scrub in just a little bit of, because that's where the brightest spot is going to be, and crusting that over, and just very faintly across the top of it. We don't want to kill, again, we don't want to kill all of that underpainting that we have, that we worked so hard to put in there. And then what I'm doing is I'm just taking my finger and I'm just pulling that down into that cad white that we had earlier there. And I'm going again with the contour of that mailbox. And what that does is it gives the illusion of that, the shape of that mailbox. with that domed top. And we'll just bring that down, maybe even a few little spots right along this back edge here, with a little, maybe a little hotter spot that's there. And pick up just a little bit more paint and just a few, not much, but just a few little spots that where that sun might be hitting. Maybe right along this leading edge here a little bit. Take my glasses off. I very rarely in the studio at home ever wear my glasses. Some people have to have glasses to see things up close. I'm the opposite of that. So I've just taken just a few little highlights or spots that might be catching the light there on the lid of the mailbox, and just a little warm this up a little bit on the inside, where might be a little bit of light that's shining in there. Now I want to, now that we've got kind of a nice little start, and the thing that so many people don't understand in painting is the amount of layers in order to develop the depth that that you see a lot of times in paintings. So we can take and develop this up more if we needed to. You could put a, like the flag on the side of it. I had thought about, if I had the time, I was going to do a little bird on the top with a little nest inside of it. We'll have to just wait and see how much time we've got here, whether or not we can do that, whether we want to go another episode with this. May very well do that. I'm not sure yet. So I started putting in these little tree limbs that are coming down, and I'm just grabbed a little bit of the burnt sienna with that yellow and white mixture. So we've got a very light tan, and I'm just highlighting just a few little spots on the limbs that are coming across, and I'm doing that just because we're going to come back in and do a little more with the limbs, but and with putting in some leaves. But I wanted to have, hopefully my hand isn't getting in the way there, but I just wanted some spots here where the sun might be hitting a little bit for highlights on those limbs, and maybe a few same thing, just touching with those distant tree trunks that are there in the background, and a few little spots where it might be coming through, hitting on some of those limbs. And I say this quite often on the show. I work very quickly, and if you're doing this at home, obviously, you can take a little more time, and I would take more time if I was home in my studio doing this. But because of the television time here, I work very quickly so that I can cover as much as possible for you, so at least the idea and at least the process, so that you can take the time and work with that at home. And I'm just hitting just a few spots, just to highlight on that fence post that's there. Let's take now and go in and do some with our with some leaves that are here in the sky. And I'm just not really doing a whole lot cleaning my brush up, but I did clean it out just a little bit. And I've got just this little number 8 filbert brush, and I want to take a little bit of my cad yellow, some of my cobalt blue, very similar mixture as to what we used on those distant trees in the background. But I want this a little more on the bright side, bright yellow, or a bright green, I should say. And I've got, I don't know if you can see there, I've got my brush pretty loaded up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch very quickly, just touch the canvas, turning my brush quite often, and just doing just a little bit of this gives the indication of some leaves that are here on this tree that's hanging down over this old mailbox. And you can take your time at home and do this, and but I would really recommend work pretty quickly doing this, because if you try to go in one little leaf and one little leaf, it'll drive you crazy. You'll be working on this tree come December when the leaves are off of it. So I just encourage you to work on this. Work very quickly. Just keep your brush moving and twisting it around so that it's getting not the same pattern of when when that brush, the bristles are hitting on the canvas. We don't want it to look too uniform. We want it to be more random, and if you look out in nature, that's exactly what you see. Grabbing just a little more of the cad yellow to add to it so it's a little brighter. And I think we're going to go right up here. Even though I didn't put in any limbs up here, I want this to have the indication that that tree is much bigger than what we're showing, and that it's coming in from that top up there. So if you notice how quickly I'm working here, I'm working very rapidly, and by doing that, it looks much more realistic and to what it would be in nature. So that's all we're trying to do, is just, I talk about it quite often, that, the word that we use a lot of times in art for this type of a painting, I say it, everything starts out kind of in painting as an abstract, and then it goes into that area where it's more impressionistic. Means that it's just giving the impression of something that's there, and the eye will take and fill it in. And I say that often, but it really is very true, and just carry through in thinking about that, because that's very much the way it is. So now I'm going to grab my fan brush really quickly here, and I want to hit maybe some little highlights back here on these little grasses that we've pulled up. And I've done that, and if you didn't catch that on the last episode, I did that with my big 3-inch brush, and then and I did use my fan brush here for a little bit of it as well. So the fan brush is great because if you notice, I'm just taking and just doing little flicking motions upward and varying my color a little bit, just to give the indication that maybe there's a little bit of a little brighter. I'm going to grab a little yellow with the white. Maybe I want this to make it look like it's a little brighter back there, a little more of a, where the sun might be hitting it. Just these little upward motions gives, again, the illusion of grasses. And if this paint needs to be, if it's too thick and it needs to be a little more fluid, in fact, I'll show you, just grab a little bit of the paint thinner in my brush and just wipe out the excess paint thinner. And I come back in, makes that paint fluid once again, and it'll take and flow better onto your canvas. And that's, so, you know, experiment. You know, if something isn't working, you know, experiment and find out what does work for you. So I'm just grabbing again, just some of my blues and my yellows, just mixing them together, getting a variation of greens. You know, greens can get you in trouble in painting. You'd think that it would be very easy, but it can actually overpower a painting if you aren't really careful. So, you know, take your time, step back and look at it. The average viewing distance, or a lot of people don't realize this, for a picture is 6 foot. So quite often when I'm doing lessons, I will have my students, you know, get up from the canvas and step back and look at it and go, okay, because it changes the way things look when you are looking at them from a little farther back. And what I'm doing here now, I've still got the fan brush, and I'm just going to use, I just loaded up with some of those same colors, and I'm just tapping, using the corner, a few little highlights up here on these distant trees. We don't need much, but we need just to have a little bit, just so that they stand out a little better. And don't worry about it if it comes down into the mailbox, no problem. We can always cover it up, come back over it. And we'll just a little distance there. So that's pretty good. Now let's take and work now more up here on our foreground. What we're going to do here is I want to take and just grab a little bit more, same colors we have up here that we worked with, and we've got kind of this little band here of maybe of little bushes, and I want to take and distinguish or the difference between the planes there. And so I'm just putting in a little bit of this just to break that up. And this looks really, really good against that dark of those bushes. So you remember, it always takes dark to make light where it shows up. So I'm just hitting, just like I did with the trees up there in the background, just the corner of my brush, just a few little highlights maybe on these little bushes that are here along the road. That's looking good there. Now, I want to take and put in some little flowers that might be back there in the background. There's a field here of wildflowers, and so I'm just rinsing out my little fan brush here, and didn't completely clean it out really good, but it's enough to where it's going to work for us. So I'm going to take now, this is alizarin crimson here, and just grabbing some on my fan brush, and I want to take and bring in just a little bit of my titanium white, a little bit of cad red in there as well. And I'm just going to take just the corner, just the very corner, and I'm just touching a few spots. These are so far back that all you're going to see is basically just some color splashes that are there. I don't know my wildflowers well enough to know what these might be, but you know, these could be, you could actually do this. In fact, we'll do it here in a second. You know, we could do it with some white. Like there were some pansies out there, and I think before I do that, I will grab, and I love purple, Purple is one of my favorite colors. And I'm just going to add that right into that mix of that alizarin crimson and white. It's a little more titanium white in there. So we've got kind of a nice little lavender color. And we're just going to do the same thing with it, touching a few spots. Not many, just a few here and there, just to break it up. And maybe we'll just put in a few spots down here. Not a whole lot, because we're going to take and come in with bringing in some more grasses here. So again, these are a little farther back, so there's not a whole lot of detail to them. And I'm just wiping out the excess, and I want to get just some titanium white right on the corner of my brush, and a few, again, we're just touching a few little spots here and there, just for some color pop. You know, you can take as much time as you need to do the way you want to do it at home. So got that. Looks pretty good. Now I want to take I'm getting paint thinner, and I want to take, we'll go back into that yellow and green, and in fact I'm going to mix up a little bit more of it. I want it more towards the yellow side, kind of that, it's a real bright, almost lime green. I really like that color. But I'm just going to grab a little bit more paint thinner. I want to get this soupy, just like I've got my liner brush here. That's what I've got. Sorry, I didn't distinguish that. But anyway, get it. I've got a very small end on it, and I'm just taking now, and I want to just touch, and I want to bring up some grasses that might be here on the more in the foreground here, so there's a little bit more detail to them. I want to bring it up around our little post here. Vary the length and the amount of pressure you put on. I talk about it all the time that people struggle with this liner brush, and again, it just takes a little bit of practice. But I think after you do it, you'll find it's such a versatile brush, and you can do so many different things with it. That hopefully that you will take some time and mess with it yourself. And I'm doing just kind of intermediate lengths here. Just letting it, if you notice where I'm holding the brush too, that's the other thing that so many times people, they try to do it like this, and they have problems with it because they can't get the look that they want, because they're trying to use it like a pencil, and it just doesn't work out for them. Now this one, I want to take, and I'm just putting more pressure. I just want progressively here. We've got bigger and brighter little weeds and grasses that are popping up here. And I know you probably cannot see all of this at home, and I'm not going to have enough time to do all the way across here like I would hope that I would, but maybe, between now and, I think what I'll do is maybe even and finish this on the next show. That way I can, because I didn't have a chance to get to the bird today. And what I did there really quickly as I was talking is I just grabbed a little bit of my titanium white to add to the mix, just to have a variation in the color. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll just next week we'll do all of our finish highlights on the painting here. Add in a little bird sitting there on the, and I don't know if I'm going to put it up here or if I'm going to have it sitting there on the lid. Not really sure yet, but well, between now and next show, we'll figure that out. And hopefully you've been painting along with me. And if you haven't, I would encourage you to do so. This is a fun little painting that anybody can do, and I know you can do it as well. It just takes a little bit of time, and you know, at home, do it at the pace that you're comfortable with. Something that I think would look good in anybody's home, maybe a gift or a present for somebody that's in your life that's special. I wanted to tell you a little story as I leave today. I went to the dentist on Monday or Tuesday because of a problem I had with one of my teeth, and it was hurting, and it's been hurting for quite a while. And it's amazing, you know, you kind of get used to it. But that little pain can really affect a lot of things in your life. It gives you a headache, gives me, like, my neck was hurting. It was affecting a lot of different things. I was having a hard time concentrating just because of that tooth, that little bitty hole in that tooth that was causing problems. So many times I think we look at the negatives and they have influence and impact our lives in way greater ways than we think. So a negative, even though it might be small, can be big and can take over your whole life if you'll allow it to. What I'm trying to do, and I was reminded of it when I was at the dentist the other day and thinking about it after I had the tooth worked on, how I need to concentrate on the little small blessings, the good things, the happy things in life. I need to take and let those influence my life and your life, just like the little negatives do. I think sometimes the negatives take over in our mind because we're not conscious of it. Think about the positive things in your life, the blessings, the little things that happen on a daily basis that might make you smile, make you feel a little bit better. Concentrate on those and let those take over and be a blessing in your life. So think of the positives, the blessings that you've got, and put aside the negatives that might be trying to come in and destroy you. I hope you have a blessed week this week. Be inspired, be creative, and I'll see you next week here again on Art and Soul.